In April 1995, a comedic cult classic was released upon the world. Friday, directed by F. Gary Gray, explores themes of friendship, community, and survival in the face of adversity. Set in South Central Los Angeles, the film follows a day in the life of Craig, played by Ice Cube, and Smokey, played by Chris Tucker, two friends who must navigate various challenges and surprising encounters over the course of one eventful Friday.
I am New York City zero budget guerrilla filmmaker Sean Weathers.
And I'm Canadian screenwriter and playwright Angus Combe. Join us as we spend the next 90 minutes exploring this unassuming little movie that became a sleeper hit, which launched two sequels, an animated TV series, and has a third sequel still in the works. One thing's for sure, Friday is no longer just a day of the week. The No Rules Film School is now in session.
I think your information isn't updated. We reviewed the third sequel. It's not in the works.
Well, no, but it's part 3, so it's the second sequel. So
a third. Oh, I got you.
Yeah,
I got
so
you.
the third sequel.
Okay, I thought you meant.
Yeah,
the
I
third
know.
movie.
I'm always tempted to say that as well, but yeah.
Okay.
So it's
okay.
It's the fourth movie in the series, but it's the third sequel.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Is that Meagan good?
That?
I'm not sure. I wonder if that's Meagan good.
I'm not sure. That's a good
Could
question.
she have been that young back then?
Maybe.
This is 95, so.
Yeah. Meagan Good, yes. She is kid number 2.
Oh, wow.
Kid number 2. Who knew?
That's crazy.
And so that's Chris Tucker, of course.
So we got a lot of flack for having not watched this movie.
Oh,
we
yes.
So for Black History Month, we covered a lot of Black movies. The first one was the second sequel, the third movie in this series, because of all the Cat Williams hype at the time. We went to see Cat Williams debut, and we mentioned in the No Rooms Film School podcast that this was the first movie in the series we saw, and we got a lot of comments mentioning that, like, how could you have not seen this classic? So that was the impetus for us. Impetus, right?
Impetus, yeah.
Impetus. That was the impetus for us watching this film to end Black History Month. We started off with a Friday and we're ending with a Friday.
Yeah, awesome. And I think I also wanted to just go back and see the first movie after enjoying the third one. I was surprised that's not a lot of the same actors, actually, in this movie. A lot of the people in the third movie were new, or maybe had been in the second movie, but were not in this movie.
Well, Bernie Mac is dead, so I think he died before the third one came out, didn't he?
Well, that could be.
Yeah.
But he...
and Chris Tucker, I think he didn't want to do it because of religious reasons or something?
Yes. Well, Bernie Mac was only in this one, and likewise Chris Tucker. And yes, he did say that he didn't reprise his role for religious reasons, because he didn't want to encourage others to smoke weed, which is interesting, because that's what his character's all about in this movie.
And it's interesting because he did go to Epstein Island, which Cat Williams did point out.
Oh, yes.
Which is in that interview, which again was the impetus for us watching the first one. That better be how you pronounce that word.
Well, it works for me.
You're the writer, so I mean, it's okay for me to get it wrong, but you have no excuse.
Well, yeah. Yeah, so maybe Chris Tucker doesn't mind doing it. He just doesn't want to encourage people to do it.
I don't know. But this was, I think, a breakout role for him. Much like the third one was a breakout for Cat Williams, this was a breakout for Chris Tucker. Because I think after this is when he did the Rush Hour movies, correct? I don't know.
Totally, yes. Yeah, this was a big deal for him. He had, of course, been a comedian and had been quite successful. He was on that HBO series Def Comedy Jam, and he debuted in a movie that we may have heard of called House Party 3 in 1994, so just the year before this movie. But it was really this movie that gave him his big break as a lead character. And of course, this movie became a surprise success, which also helped. So I suppose that could be the difference is he agreed to play this character because he really wasn't a big star yet. But once he became a star, he could say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable playing this character.
Mhm.
So he wasn't above doing it to become successful, perhaps.
That is the lamest attempt at trying to do an off-brand product.
Oh
That's clearly Captain Crunch, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I love the gigantic bowl here too.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, surely when he picks up that milk, he must feel that it's almost empty. Like you could tell
Oh,
that this is not going to be enough milk. But he seems surprised here when only a little bit of milk comes out.
that is a good point. It probably would have been better if it were sour milk because then
Yeah,
he would be
yeah,
fooled and the comedy would still work.
yes.
So
Now
much
these,
like the third one, this one has like a lot of good comedians in it, and I think
yes,
that is one of the highlights so far that I've noticed in this series is
yes,
that it does highlight a lot of comedians who wouldn't really have a spotlight.
yes,
Terry Crews, I think that was a breakout role for him in the third one as well
yeah,
as Cat Williams, and this one it spotlights a
yeah,
lot of good comedians as well.
totally. It's a great cast. Lots of recognizable people, not just comedians, but actors who were on TV shows. Um,
It's weird
the,
too because this movie didn't make a lot of money at all. I'm sure it made a lot more than it cost because this looks like it cost
yes,
nothing. But
yes, indeed.
now he can't
Yeah.
really be poor if he's throwing away all that cereal because there was no milk. That is not the way you do it. So I grew
Yeah.
up with not a lot of money. I would not throw a whole box of cereal in a bowl and throw it away
No.
because there's no milk. What you would do is you
No.
pour some water in there, maybe
Yes.
some canned milk if you have it, or something like
Yes.
that, you know?
Yeah. Totally. Totally. And yeah, this movie, it, and number wise, it doesn't sound like it made a ton of money, but yeah, I think it was only budgeted at about $3.5 million. So when it made like 28 million, I think worldwide, that's a
Mhm.
huge return on 3.5 million. So
Yeah, it's the
definitely a big
equivalent of like what horror movies do at the box office. They don't
yes.
cost anything, but they have a good return.
Yeah, totally. And it was sort of considered a sleeper hit in that nobody really expected much from it, I guess. And they figured, well, 3.5 million, maybe we'll break even, maybe not, it won't be a big loss. But when it made 28 million, oh my God, this is actually a bigger success than we thought it would be. And I think it kind of grew over time as well, sort of gained a cult following. People started to watch this movie more and more. So I think that's why they finally made the sequel 5 years later.
Mm. Yeah. And I don't know, like, if even if they got Chris Tucker to agree to do it, I mean, he was making a lot of money after this movie. Like with
Yes.
those Rush Hour movies, he was getting like 20 million or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole gross for this movie, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. True enough.
So I don't know, because these movies, they didn't, sometimes with sequels, the budget blows up. Like, I didn't really see anything in the third movie that said that was a blown up budget. And
No.
I didn't see anyone on screen that really demanded a lot of money. The person who probably demanded the most money is Ice Cube, and he's like the producer behind it. So why would he
Yeah.
give himself a big paycheck to put the film in a position where it's not going to make a lot of money when he can instead just take a portion of the profits instead?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really don't see how they would have afforded him. And if they did, I think it would have took the franchise in a different direction. Better or
Yeah.
worse, I think they would have been forced to spend more to justify his salary, to justify like a wider audience, more global appeal instead
Yeah.
of a cult following. You'd need like a real following.
Yeah. Totally. I think the budget of all three Friday movies put together was only $24.5 million.
Yeah.
So uh, that might have been his wage for one of his other movies.
One of his Rush
Um,
Hour movies, right? Yeah.
yeah. but the box office was about $121 million for the three movies. So they've been very profitable.
Mhm.
Now, I was going to say that we felt there was a running joke in the third movie, which was kind of based around sexual assault, which was a little surprising. I feel like this movie also has a running joke, which is I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble here, but we're kind of seeing it here. This is taking a dump, I guess. Uh, there seems to be a recurring theme of people taking a dump, or talking about it.
Mm. Yeah, we got to be careful, man, because our most successful commentary track video so far was Straw Dogs, and we got demonetized for that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
keep saying the wrong thing.
we got demonetized for that, the commentary and the podcast for that.
Yeah.
Those were a lot of hits, man.
Oh yeah.
That would have been like
Yeah.
50 cents we could have each had in our pockets. Gone out the window, man.
Oh man. 50 cents is 50 cents.
I
Don't
know.
like to lose that.
No. Each? You kidding me? That's net. That's not even gross,
I know,
bro.
I know. That's amazing. That's unbelievable.
So, looking at Chris Tucker, since we talked about his success, he's a real breakout star from this movie. The same year Dead Presidents came out, I have to look at the release date to know which one came out first. But that was like another, that was more in line with the type of black movies that were successful,
Yeah.
was the more serious ones, the more dramatic ones, the more inner city grittiness. This is
Yes.
more inner city, lightheartedness,
Yeah.
a different perspective, but kind of the similar fan base and the similar budgets and point of view. So they're kind of in the same world, but just a completely different tone. I hate
Yeah.
when he looks at the camera like that. Then he also did The Fifth Element, which is another cult movie.
Yes.
Um, a huge cult movie. I never got into that, but I know there's a huge audience called dedicated cult audience for that. Money
Yeah, there is.
Talks, which I think was his first like I can be a lead actor.
Yeah.
And it was his first like buddy action comedy where he's playing against type, kind of like what where he not playing against type, but he's playing against like the his buddy in it, kind of like what Eddie Murphy did throughout the 80s. You
Yeah.
know, he just
Yeah.
gets someone that's the opposite of him to partner up with. Nick
Yeah.
Nolte in 48 Hour movies and the Beverly Hills Cop, Fish Out of Water type thing.
Yeah.
So that whole
Yeah.
Fish Out of Water buddy comedy action thing. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the prototype Money Talks. And then obviously the Rush Hour movies kind of blew him up. And then in
Yeah.
between, he did Jackie Brown, which is kind
Yes.
of like a prestige Tarantino film. So,
Totally.
but it seems
Yeah.
like after those Rush Hour movies, he fell into a syndrome that a lot of actors fall into. I think Nev Campbell did the same thing as well, where you
Yeah.
get into a movie where you're the key member in the franchise, and specifically in that franchise, you are so valuable that they're going to give you like $20 million or like a huge paycheck.
Yeah.
Outside of that franchise, you're still making $1 or $2 million a movie, but you're like,
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna get $20 million for this. I want $20 million for everything. And I
Mm.
think maybe that slowed down his success because how many people outside of Rush Hour sequels are going to give you that paycheck?
Yeah.
And a few actors have fallen into that, and then they disappear for a while, and then they come back years later eating crow because they can't get the money. That happened to
Yeah.
Nev Campbell in the last Scream movie. She wasn't in it because she demanded a lot of money. But
Yeah.
I could see the producer's point of view. Nev Campbell, outside of that Scream franchise, is maybe making SAG minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who really knows Nev Campbell outside that franchise? So
Yeah.
I think that must have been what he fell into because once he started doing those movies, he really didn't do much of anything, honestly.
Yeah. That's true. That's mainly where I know him from, the three Rush Hour movies. And of course, they keep talking about Rush Hour 4. They say it's coming, but it's been a long time now.
Yeah, yeah. And it might be something like with like Too Little Too Late. Remember that Dumb and
Yeah.
Dumber sequel?
Yeah.
I couldn't even watch that. The trailers was just so cringe. But the original Dumb and Dumber is one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes you could just wait too long. There's like another Beverly Hills Cop movie coming out soon too.
Really?
Yeah,
Like not a reboot, but like a sequel?
a sequel with the same stars.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Look what you did to my curb. Better watch your window, you climbing that fool before you get blasted on.
With what? You ain't got nothing, man.
With this.
Man, where you get that from?
Your mama.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Come on outside, man. Stop playing.
So this movie came out April 26th, 1995. And just a month before that, the Academy Awards had occurred. And various movies, of course. I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm still with
so
you. You may have lost the
before.
audience, but you got me.
Yeah. Okay. That's all that counts here. That's all that matters. So 1 month before this, the Academy Awards occurred. Forrest Gump won Best Picture and a bunch of other
What
awards.
do you think
as
about
well.
Forrest Gump? I always think that that's a movie didn't really age well. Because at the time it came out, it was like the movie, man.
Yeah.
I don't hear anyone talking about Forrest Gump anymore.
Yeah. I'm not sure. You know, I did see it when it came out, and I think I liked it. I liked it better than I thought I would, but I've never had the urge to see it again. So, yeah, it's a good point. It may not have aged well, but it really won a lot of the big awards, including Best Director.
It cleaned up. I mean, that was around the time when Tom Hanks could do no wrong, where he was winning Best Oscar like every year.
Yes.
That, Philadelphia, Apollo 13, like he was the guy.
Yeah.
But a lot of those movies, like who talks about Philadelphia or Apollo 13 anymore?
Yeah.
But if you were around at that time, those movies were huge. But people still talk about Pulp Fiction. They clearly still talk about Friday.
Yeah, totally. And actually, at the same Academy Awards, Martin Landau won for Ed Wood, playing Bela Lugosi, which is a movie that I think has aged really well.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah. And of course, Best Screenplay was Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, I remember Tarantino joking like, wow, I finally won something from Forrest Gump.
Yeah, that's the one thing they couldn't win because they won Best Screenplay based on material previously produced or published. So they were not eligible for the original screenplay.
So that's the only reason they won then.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because Forrest Gump was cleaning up that year, man.
It was. It was.
Mama always said, life is like a box of chocolates. I thought that would be a line that people would keep saying for decades. They said it for a while after the movie, but it kind of died down pretty hard.
Yeah.
Stupid is as stupid does. I'm actually happy we don't have to hear those sayings anymore, but
yeah.
So you probably, I don't know what type of neighborhood you live in. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But anytime I pass a neighborhood, because I mean, as a New Yorker, I really don't drive, especially as a kid. Obviously, you're not driving as a kid either. So I mainly cycle and walk. And until I started cycling to work, like in my mid-20s, maybe early mid-20s, I was just always walking or taking public transportation. So you used to walk by a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of inner city neighborhoods. Anytime I walked by a neighborhood when I saw people with like chairs outside of their apartments or houses, that was a block you didn't want to be on long because it was just the sign of an unsafe neighborhood. You know, people watching, especially young people watching, they get very territorial, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So anytime you see like these guys here with their furniture outside their house, not a great sign.
Yeah.
You find it a lot of like Latin neighborhoods, like in the Bronx. It's really prevalent there. See a lot of older Latin guys in wife beaters playing dominoes and lawn furniture.
Oh yeah.
You know, also it's like in summertime, you get people opening the fire hydrants and kids running around the fire hydrant like it's a pool or something.
Yeah.
Really hood.
I was tripping, man. You want me to ask for my bike back? You know I wouldn't trip. What bike? The beach cruiser.
So this is, I guess, the main antagonist in the film. I first
Yes.
saw him in the No Holds Barred because I was a big wrestling
Oh,
geek as a
yes.
kid. I think he was he Zeus or something?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, when I first saw him here, I thought he was the same actor who was in the third Friday movie, but he's not. He's a totally different actor.
Terry Crews?
Yes.
Okay. This is the part where I get to say, we all look the same to you, don't we?
Well, they're practically playing the same character. They're these huge muscle-bound guys who are kind of terrorizing the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
yeah, go ahead, justify your racism.
But
yeah, the movie kind of has its formula, and if they don't get the person they need, they just replace them. Because
yes,
what's his name? Mike Epps. I think he
yes.
basically plays the Chris Tucker role, you know. So
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And again, I was a little surprised that he wasn't in this movie. Even if he wasn't sort of the main guy, I thought he might have been around and maybe he would have been promoted up in the second movie. But no, he's not even there. So he just kind of steps in
yeah,
to take
a
over.
lot of times, like you have the script, and it's just like, all right, like we don't have this actor anymore. Like, how can we keep the integrity of this and not change it too much, you know?
Yeah.
Because to start from scratch, I mean, you know how it is. You do a bunch of rewrites. Sometimes it's
Yes.
best just to tweak it and replace the character than just like completely redo it because you don't have the actor you need anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tommy Tiny Lister Jr., who plays Debo, he sort of became a wrestler after appearing in No Holds Barred, it seems.
A really bad wrestler.
He was only occasionally a wrestler. It wasn't his main thing, but he was.
He'd go broke if it was.
Yeah. He seemed to be really tied up with Hulk Hogan. They would sort of do stuff, compete, but yeah, he's done a lot of acting.
He's been in a lot of movies. I don't know if he's done.
Oh yeah. You think he's always the same guy? Every movie he's in.
Kind of. Wasn't he
Yeah.
in Batman? The Dark Knight Returns?
I think he's in one of them. Yeah.
On the boat with the criminals?
Maybe.
I better be right, because then I can't really call out your racism if it's just a different big muscular black guy. If it's like Terry Crews in that movie, I'm gonna have so much egg on my face.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it was him, I think, in the Dark Knight.
Well, I will try to confirm that.
Yeah.
Yes, he is in the Dark Knight.
It's funny that
Definitely
this
in
is
the-
still a cult movie despite the fact that weed culture changed. You know,
Yeah.
because it's no longer taboo to smoke weed anymore, and I think that's one of the reasons this film was successful.
Yeah.
It tapped into that cult audience that just like wanted movies to watch while they were high and, you know, vegging out.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, I mean, I smoked weed for a short period of time in my life. I think,
yes.
like, when it was cool, like when you hit that age where doing anything rebellious is cool, joining a gang, smoking, all that stuff. I had a small phase of that, I think from like 7th to 8th grade of junior high school
Right.
before I
Yeah.
got into sports. So I smoked then. And then I smoked a little bit in my early 20s. And you'd look for movies like these. For
Yeah.
me, my go-to was Half Baked.
Oh yes.
But yeah, you'd look for stuff like this.
Yeah, that was never really my scene. I never really smoked weed. And even now that it's perfectly legal and there's several places right on my block here where I could go and buy it, I still haven't done it. It just doesn't, maybe because I never did it years ago, it just doesn't really interest me now.
Yeah, isn't that weird when like something is taboo and then it's not taboo, and you're like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's like you're not even tempted anymore. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like you were never tempted, but
No.
it's kind of weird when something goes from like taboo to not taboo, and it's just like, I could go without it.
Yeah. Yeah. True enough.
Yeah, I think one of the appeals of this movie is that it fully gives us it gives a wide spectrum. Here comes some casual racism. Um, but it just gives a full spectrum of the type of characters you'd find in like certain neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
you're gonna find some character where you're gonna be like, oh yeah, like I know that guy type thing.
Yeah. Totally.
Man, get your punk ass up. It ain't even wet over here.
Hey, well, look here, man. Just give me $10 and I won't say nothing.
Get out.
So the soundtrack of this movie is quite good, I think. There's a lot of songs. They're almost constantly playing,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of good ones, I think, including some classics, some old blaxploitation songs. Couple from
That's what I always like think of movies, these 90s movies, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, Sugar Hill. Movies like that is just like an extension of blaxploitation. Like blaxploitation took a break in the 80s
Yeah.
where like black actors were trying to go mainstream, like
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy and things like that. And then you had a return to black movies with Spike Lee and movies like,
Yes.
movies that I mentioned and movies like these, where it's
Yeah.
like it's okay to have an all black cast. I think that wasn't the case in the 80s. In the 80s,
Yeah.
like, no, you have to have like a white central actor, and then you can have a black character maybe playing off of them. And like I
Yeah.
said, I think Eddie Murphy would have been like the biggest black star in the 80s. And a lot of his big movies, Trading Places, Dan Aykroyd,
Yeah.
48 Hours, Nick Nolte, Beverly Hills Cop, the entire rest of the cast. Where it's just like, all right, like we can have the black actor, but you have to like surround him with like some white faces. But
Yes.
I think the 90s brought back it's okay to just have black faces in movies, and people will watch if it's a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Like, it's sort of almost like a new wave of blaxploitation, except they're more critically acclaimed, serious movies as a rule. Movies that were respected in a way that a lot of the blaxploitation movies weren't. So it was like it was kind of the same, but kind of different in a way.
Yeah. Well, you'd hope there'd be some evolution, right? So
Oh yeah.
the neighborhood hottie.
Yeah, that's right. I was gonna say, do you recognize that character from your neighborhood?
I
I don't think
wish.
I don't think we had that character in my neighborhood. I don't think so.
I will say this. So um, me and my sister have different dads,
Oh
and
yes.
so my dad, he lived in Trinidad, and never really had a relationship with him because my
Oh yeah.
mother came from Guyana to the U.S. and I was going back and forth in my younger years, and until I finally stayed with her permanently here. But I would just stay with other family. I never really like knew my dad or anything like that. But my
Yeah.
sister's dad was kind of in the picture a little bit more. He had a sister, so my sister's dad's sister, that was a Mrs. Parker
Oh
or
yeah.
Mrs. Robinson, where she was just fucking smoking hot, man. I was just like, good Lord. And yeah, she was just so hot. Because she would be around a lot because her son was younger than me, but it wasn't that big of a gap that like, we couldn't hang out and like, so I'd go over there or he'd come here, whatever. So I'd see her like enough that she would be in my fantasies. But I certainly wasn't the age that these characters are. I was probably like, I don't know, well before my teens. I was really
Yeah.
young.
Yeah.
But I do remember in my early teens, like she came knocking on the door, and I was kind of in my underwear because I was just at home.
Oh
And she
yes.
gave me this look like, whoa, you grew up. And I was like, maybe I have a chance at her. Maybe I had a chance.
Wow.
But you have any Mrs. Robinson, Mrs. Parker moments?
No, I don't think I do. You know, all the moms who lived on the block, they just seem like moms to me. You know, they
They
didn't
look like
seem.
moms.
Yeah, like I, you know, when you watch TV and you see these really beautiful moms, you know, that seemed
MILFs.
different. You know, like
Yeah, they're not moms. They
Yeah.
call them MILFs.
MILFs. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think I really knew anyone who had a hot mother like that.
Yeah. Here's Chris Tucker doing his Michael Jackson thing. They were good friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was Rick James on the soundtrack singing Mary Jane, one of
Yeah.
the songs I like.
Classic. Here's a very, very funny comedian, Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac, yeah.
Bud, too. How you doing, brother Craig? How you doing? I'm all right.
Yeah, he went on to have his own TV show.
Yeah, yeah.
His brother John. They both at work.
That's one thing though. The 90s did have a lot of like black TV shows.
Yes.
I'm not sure what channel they aired on in Canada, but it'd be like UPN and WB. They would just dump a bunch of black shows on those channels.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think they
I
would
remember
just
the
get
Wayne
picked up.
brothers, Bernie Mac,
Yeah.
Martin Lawrence, even LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Like it didn't take much to get a series in the 90s because you had, again, in New York, you had two networks that were just looking for like black entertainment.
Yeah.
You even had black entertainment, BET.
Oh, yeah.
That was a thing for a while.
This is Freddy's Dead from Superfly right here.
Yeah.
One of my favorite soundtracks, songs.
One of my favorite blaxploitation movies too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I love the fact that they do that mix. They have some old stuff and they also have some new stuff. And it all seems pretty good to me.
Yeah. I mean, this is one thing they should get right, the music in these type of movies, right?
Yeah. Well, apparently the soundtrack went to #1 on the Billboard 200 and held that position for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
It was also on top of the R&B and hip hop album chart for 6 weeks.
So I wonder what the soundtrack was actually like, because I remember the Nutty Professor, the remake that Eddie Murphy did, had a bunch of new songs, but Eddie Murphy wanted old songs in the actual movie. So the movie
yeah.
had a bunch of old songs, but the soundtrack had new songs. So I wonder
Yeah.
what the mix was like with this soundtrack. Did it have the old and the new? Or was the
Yeah.
soundtrack just the new songs? Did they re-release the old songs?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I was running down the street in my damn drawers.
I'm surprised they have so much black and white flashback footage.
Yeah.
Do they really need to have it black and white to let us know it's not happening in real time?
Yeah, well, I guess it's a choice, you know. Flashbacks are black and white. Makes it very clear. Yeah, it looks like the soundtrack is mainly the newer stuff. They don't include the songs
The
from
old stuff?
Superfly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the same thing with the Nutty Professor. Like they just do different things for the actual movie.
Yeah.
And then the soundtrack is usually stuff that they can sell now, the new stuff.
Yeah. Well, apparently Dr. Dre had a big hit with Keep Their Heads Ringin'. Went to #10 on the Hot 100. And number
yeah, that
one
was
on
a big song.
the Hot Rap Tracks chart.
Mm.
The album went double platinum. So this movie was co-written by Ice Cube and DJ Pooh. And
DJ who?
DJ Pooh.
DJ who?
DJ Pooh. So he was originally going to play Smokey, but New Line Cinema wanted a big name or a better known actor than DJ Pooh. So
They needed someone bigger than DJ Pooh?
yeah,
Are they crazy?
that's hard to imagine, but yes, they said we need somebody bigger, and so they came up with Chris Tucker, and everyone was happy. But DJ Pooh plays Red, who is the guy
Yeah, I just
who,
googled him. He's the guy that got punched in the face and
yes,
okay.
yes. And I guess
And
that's his
DJ Pooh
bicycle.
went on to such great films as
Well, he's mainly
and don't forget.
he's best known for this performance here as Rad, but he's also a producer. He's produced a lot of albums, including for Ice Cube. Um, so I think he's done some voice work for Grand Theft Auto video games and that kind of stuff. But I don't think he really became a big actor.
You sure?
But
I
if,
mean, this was only 95. I mean, give the guy some time.
well, yeah, it could
Don't
still
rush
happen.
him.
It could
Yeah.
still happen. But you know, if he had played Smokey, who knows? Maybe we'd be going to see DJ Pooh movies every week. You never know.
Yeah, I think we do. We wouldn't. So here we just saw one of the most demeaning things that can happen in the
Yeah.
hood. Is some random guy walking up to you and tapping your pockets to see if
Yeah.
you have any money while you sit there and do nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly something that happened at my schools. Not so much my neighborhood, but certainly the schools.
People would do that to you? Or you would do
Ah.
that to people?
No, they would do it to me. You know, they would
Really?
want, yeah, they'd want money or whatever. Usually you don't have any,
Mhm.
but
That's how it usually starts. You don't have
Yeah.
any, they don't believe you. And then they
Yes.
start tapping your pockets.
yes.
Is that traumatic for you to relive?
No, not at this point. No,
Okay.
but
Yeah, bullying sucks, man.
yeah. Yeah, junior high school, which is what we used to call it back in my day, which was
It's what
grades.
called something different now.
Well, yeah, they changed it, at least here. It used to be grades 7, 8, 9 was junior high.
That's
And then-
what it was when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, they
But we're both
changed it.
old, so
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so at some point they changed it, so they called it middle school, and I think it only went up to grade 8, and then grade 9 was part of high school. It was very strange. I didn't understand it.
mhm. Mm.
But my junior high was a pretty tough school, and lots of guys who were always coming at you, just trying
Here's
to
some
start trouble.
slapstick comedy.
Yes. And
It's a
again,
bit
the soundtrack.
extreme. The music is great.
Yeah, James Brown. So I guess
This is a little too slapstick for me.
I guess the gag is, how could this short guy have such a hot wife? Is that the
Well,
gag?
it's not just that. That's part of it. But the idea
Yeah.
is also that Bernie Mac is scared of him.
Right. Yeah.
I think it still could have been funny without being as slapstick as it was.
Yeah.
That's just that comedy is a little broad for me.
Yeah.
But what
I
do
do
I know?
like-
This is a cult classic. And
That's
Hookers
true.
in Revolt is not a cult classic, unfortunately.
But there's
What
still
kind of
time.
world are we living in? Where Hookers in Revolt is not a cult classic, but Friday is.
Well, you know, a lot of the great composers weren't discovered until after they were dead. They
Are you
died
saying you're going to
completely
kill me?
penniless. No, no. Well, I mean,
Oh.
if it would help, I could. But you know, it's maybe one day Hookers in Revolt will be a massive cult classic.
I don't want to wait till I'm dead.
No, it's probably a good idea to not wait till you're dead. I do like that moment though with the grass. Keep off the grass. That's an interesting character.
Yeah. Listen, the older I get, the more I empathize with a character like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, get off my fucking property. Stay away.
He's just trying to have a nice lawn, and people keep messing it up.
Yeah.
So this is a movie that we wouldn't say has a lot of plot or a lot of story. It's mainly just like
A lot of what?
a story. It's mainly just, you know, a day in the life kind of. This is
Define
one
a
day.
lot.
A lot.
Anything
a
more
couple-
than zero?
Well, yeah. Anything more than about a minute of plot, I guess. There's just enough to sort of get the action rolling.
There is?
Yeah. You know, we find out that he lost his job, And it's interesting they never follow up on that because it sounds like he was a victim of injustice. He was wrongly accused of stealing boxes from work and fired on his day off.
I just remember
And
they came out on these chairs and they basically been sitting there smoking weed for like 90% of the movie. This could be a stage play.
yeah, oh yeah, it could almost, yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Honestly, like why is there no Friday stage play?
Well, that's an interesting question. And maybe there is somewhere. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. I mean, how many locations do you need? It's literally you could just have people walking past them. They comment to those people, they interact with those people.
Yeah.
That's 90% of the movie.
You might be onto something there.
I know.
Unfortunately, I wouldn't be the guy to write that though. So, you would have to write it. And then maybe I could pass it on to theater producers I know.
How can I take that idea and rebrand it as a Hookers in Revolt?
Well, can Hookers in Revolt be a play or is it too cinematic?
I guess they could be standing on the block,
Yeah.
waiting for Johns,
Yeah.
and they could
That would
comment as the Johns walk by. Like,
that
oh,
would
he's
work.
broke anyway. I don't want him. Oh, I screwed him last week. He didn't pay me, but I gave him something special to take home to his wife.
Oh, this sounds like a good start already.
Yeah. I think we got the start of something big,
Oh, yes.
as they would say in Casablanca.
So this is an interesting character too.
Is
The
it?
sister, the sister of the love interest, I guess.
Oh,
What y'all smoking on? I said, what you want?
I thought she was like a crackhead.
I need to borrow your car right quick. What kind
Well,
of
yeah, I wasn't really sure what her deal was.
Most people want to borrow a ship.
She's always wanting to borrow stuff.
You want to borrow
That's Angela Means as Felicia.
What does she mean?
Let me borrow a joint. You need to borrow a job.
That's her name, Angela Means.
I know, but what does Angela mean?
Remember that. Remember it. Write it down.
Angela means what?
It means she's a former comedian, model, and actress.
Oh,
She's best known for her work in Friday.
I thought it was like an acronym. He's like Angela means.
Ah, but apparently she gained popularity when a phrase from this movie, "Bye Felicia," gained media coverage and became a meme.
No way.
Yeah, so people started saying "Bye Felicia" as a way of saying "get lost" to somebody that they don't want around.
Hmm. I think that's what really took this movie to another level is the memes.
Oh yes,
We're watching one right now.
yeah.
That gave my heart beat.
Man, that's what it's supposed to do.
Now my shit beating too fast.
I wonder how much they monetized the popularity of the movie.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Because some movies are popular cult hits, but they can't really monetize the popularity. You can't monetize memes.
No, not really.
Aside from the sequels, like I wonder how Ice Cube was able to monetize the success of the movie.
Hell no.
Yeah,
Hell. Man, I'm on house arrest. I don't even supposed to be over here. Get a nigga locked up.
yeah, I don't know.
Come here, I'm thirsty.
You were talking earlier about how this was a different kind of portrayal of the hood from other movies that were coming out just before this.
Mhm.
And that was definitely part of their intention when Ice Cube and DJ Pooh wrote the script. They were not happy with the portrayal of the hood in other movies, which they felt was too violent and menacing, and so they wanted to kind of use their own
Didn't
personal
Ice Cube literally
experiences.
star in a movie called Menace to Society? Or was it Boys in the Hood?
It was Boys in the Hood, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things that kind of made him in a way as an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he might
This
have been.
does stay consistent because since that portrayal where he seemed like vicious and scary, he's done everything in his power to like change that image.
Yeah,
Like it's more movies like this and like Ride Along and movies that make fun of him and show his comedic side more so than like his tough guy side. Like he's really leaned into the comedy since that initial breakout.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And aside from the Friday movies, he was also involved in the barbershop movies.
He's definitely stayed consistent with what image he's trying to portray and the type of movies he's trying to make. Low
Yeah.
budget, urban, inner
Yeah.
city comedies.
Yeah, he's written a few and he's produced a lot more. He's done quite a bit of producing.
Yeah. I guess that's a way to monetize it is just to keep making movies similar to this. And people are like,
True.
oh, I liked him in Friday. I'll like him in Barbershop or,
Yeah.
Street Corner or Grocery Store or Bodega or insert generic name
Yes.
of low budget urban movie.
So interesting they didn't make a Saturday or Sunday or even a Thursday. They're just sticking
Now
with
you're just
Friday.
being ridiculous.
And so this
That
is
would
the
that would lock them into 7 sequels.
Oh yeah.
That would make you almost feel obligated. Well, I like the first one. I didn't like Saturday or Sunday. Monday was okay, but I'm a completionist. I gotta watch them all,
Totally. It could be
But
brilliant.
what would the themes be? Friday's like payday, Friday's like the end of the week. The weekend's
Yeah.
about to there are certain themes that play into like, oh, it's Friday,
Oh yeah, totally.
Like what themes would play into the rest of the week though?
Well, I guess Monday is kind of the most hated day. Everybody is unhappy with Monday. So you'd have to deal with that.
Mhm.
And they call Wednesday hump day.
That's the triple X version. Here we get some catfishing going on.
Yes, yes. Setting up a gag that I'm not sure whether they would get away with anymore.
It's funny you say that. I saw something trending on Twitter the other day about
Yes.
it was what was that brunette that was in Transformers? Meagan, is it Meagan? The brunette in the Transformers movies, the Michael Bay movies.
Megan Fox?
Megan Fox.
Yeah.
Megan Fox was trending. I'm like, let me just see what Megan's trending is Fox or whatever. It's on my timeline. So I just checked it out. And it was basically a clip of some girl on some dating show saying that people say I look like Megan Fox.
Uh-huh.
And the guy at the other end being like, Megan Fox, and everybody mocking her because she clearly does not look like Megan Fox. So
Yeah.
maybe it would work because
Yeah.
it worked on as far as trending wise.
Yeah.
But you just have to do it in a way that is not offensive.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, there was a show, I never liked the show, but my friends loved it. That 70s show, where they would always
yes.
make fun of this fat girl.
Yeah.
But how could they do that and not be, even this was before cancel culture, it was during like political correctness. So it's like, how
Yeah.
could we make fun of a fat girl constantly? And the answer was to put a skinny actress in a fat suit.
Ah.
So then
Yes.
technically you're not making fun of a fat girl, you're making fun of a skinny girl in a fat suit.
Yeah.
So you'd have to figure out a way to work around it,
Yeah.
You couldn't actually have an unattractive actress in the role.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to say, I saw this thing on Twitter that was trending, and it was a young woman who had essentially dressed up in a fat suit, and she had gone to meet some blind date in a restaurant, and of course he reacted in a way that was very similar to what we're going to see later here,
Mhm.
where he's like, "Oh, I gotta go, I can't stick around," and the entire internet was kind of mad at him for being judgmental of her for being fat. But I just thought it was a ridiculous thing to do, to dress up in this fat suit and try and embarrass some guy. Like I didn't see the point in doing that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of showed that people were not happy with him for reacting like that. So I'm not sure would audiences be okay with it now in a movie like this, the way that Smokey reacts when he sees her.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if they would get away with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what that exercise accomplishes,
Yeah.
because then it's an indictment on the girl as well, to show that without her looks, what value does she have that the guy would want to leave right away? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that shows that she doesn't like she didn't bring anything else to the table aside from her looks then.
Yeah.
And you can also reverse that too, because they've done social experiments when they reversed it. I
Yeah.
remember there was this was a long time ago, but there was this girl who posted a video about getting cat calls.
Oh yeah.
And then it got a lot of traction on social media because all she did was walk down the block. And then she walked down the block in like baggy clothes and everything like that. And she was still getting the cat calls.
Uh-huh.
And, you had "you go girl" and like, "screw man," blah, 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 blah. But then they did the reverse. They just put a guy in a muscle shirt, have him walk down the block, and women were acting the exact same way, only more
Uh-huh.
aggressive. Because the men, they would say things, but the women felt it was okay to touch. At least the guys
Ah.
weren't like physically like touching. Like women, it's
Yeah.
like, I'm a woman, like, it's like, what are you, gay? Like, I can touch you. And they were just like touching him and rubbing him and stuff like that. And he was clearly
Uh,
showing like he wasn't into it. Whether he wasn't into it because it's an experiment or just like he would not be into it. But
yeah.
they can also reverse that. I think that's part of the hypocrisy of things like that, is that it's okay to call men out on things like that, but not women.
Yeah.
So there are limitations to it. It's like you can't call out minorities on certain things. You can't call out women on certain things. So it's not necessarily, it's not a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's not something done in earnest, basically.
Right. Yeah.
They're looking for, they have an agenda. It's not like, I'm going to look at this objectively. It's like, no, I have an agenda. I'm looking for this type of reaction, you know?
Yeah.
And when I do,
Yeah.
like, I'm beginning to like spend less time on Twitter, because like I'll see certain things pop up on my timeline and you really start questioning it, because you'll see somebody say something like so far right.
Hmm.
And it's like, is that person really that far right? Because it's so ridiculously far right. Or are they far left and they just want to call out the right, you know? Because
Yeah.
it's like, you're so cartoonishly off. The only thing you're gonna elicit is comments saying how stupid you are for saying that. And if it seems so like far off, like, what is the agenda here? Is it just really trying to get those particular comments? And when
Yeah.
you look at it that way, and you look at it like, all right, what is this person trying to accomplish? It makes you think like everybody has an agenda.
Yeah.
So
And I think definitely some people just say things to get a reaction or to make people angry. I often think to myself, you don't really believe that, like they're just
mhm,
saying things.
yeah,
Doesn't make sense.
yeah. But again, I think sometimes they say things and they genuinely mean it. And then I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's just baiting, and they
Yeah.
don't believe it. They're on the opposite side, but they just want to rile you up on their side.
Yeah. Totally.
Where it's like, and people even do that, like you'll have like this. I remember this one girl had a post that was really popular, and she was like she looked like this girl basically, body
Yeah.
wise, very
Yeah.
thin. And then her boyfriend was like, he made a comment like, geez, babe, like, you almost weigh more than I do at this point. And then she posted a picture of like how she looked there, and then a picture of her about 20 pounds heavier.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like, if you're genuinely upset with your boyfriend, you can break up with him. but you're clearly just posting this to get people to say you still look good, you know?
Yeah.
Like everything is an agenda, you know? Everything is to spark like a visceral emotion from people, like, you know, like that immediate
Yeah.
emotion of like, oh, like, you know, just to get a bunch of likes and stuff like that, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like it's a culture of just like calling people out, confrontation, knowing like knowing like what you're gonna post, knowing the reaction that you're gonna
Yeah.
get, and just trying to get that reaction.
Yeah. That's very true. Oh, here we go here.
Your favorite part?
This is
More poop jokes.
exactly, this is the continuation of the one of the
And
major
you know
themes.
why this scene was in here, right?
No, why?
You don't know?
No.
You don't know why? Because the person that was going to play this character was DJ.
Oh, yes, of course. That's right. They wrote it for DJ Pooh, and so they just didn't change it
Yeah,
when they replaced the actor. Yeah.
exactly.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. Of course, the father, Ice Cube's father in the film, who is played by John Witherspoon.
He's no longer with us as well. Hey, man.
No, true. He died in 2019. Um, he's of course the main the guy who really works that theme a lot, DJ Pooh's theme. But
Because he did
but
that in the the second sequel, the third movie,
yeah, well, true, yeah,
when he
yeah,
came down to the landlord's apartment.
yeah, yeah.
Somehow, like, despite taking a poo, he was still almost sexually assaulted right afterwards.
That's right. That's a tough move, isn't it? To go
Yeah,
straight from that to that. That's
they're very
that's
close vicinity to each other.
yeah, yes, indeed. And so he, of course, has a huge, long career, tons of great movies, TV shows. He also did stand up.
Yeah.
This woman here, she also was Paula J. Parker as the kind of not so nice girlfriend. Um, she also was a comedy person. She did a lot of sketch comedy and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, didn't really become a huge film star, but this is one of the things she's best known for.
She's known for this.
Well, as much as she's known, this is one of the things she's known for.
Mhm.
But she's also in movies like Phone Booth and Hustle and Flow.
Phone booth. Is that Colin? Is that the one where
It's
the guy's in the phone booth for the whole movie?
yes, yeah. It was written by Larry
Colin Farrell
Cohen.
or something?
Yeah, Colin Farrell. It was written by Larry Cohen.
It
He
wasn't it
said that
directed by that
Joel
director
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yeah.
Yeah, and it was apparently developed through a conversation with Hitchcock. Larry Cohen and Hitchcock, they like to try and come up with setting a movie in the smallest possible space. And so they thought about a phone booth. Could you do a whole movie kind of set
How
in a
old is
phone?
Larry Cohen that he had conversations with Hitchcock about movies? Is that a Cohen brother?
No, no, Larry Cohen, who made movies like It's Alive, and he
Oh,
directed Black Caesar and Hell Up in Harlem, the great
okay, that makes more sense. Because I'm
blaxploitation
thinking
films.
like a Cohen brother. I'm like those Cohen
Yes.
brothers aren't that old.
No, no. So he is spelled differently too.
Mhm.
Cohen. He was born in 1936 and he died in 2019 as well.
Mhm.
Very prolific writer, very good writer, and also director. But yeah, so that's
Phone
a
booth,
good
definitely
movie,
a
I
movie
think.
that can't be made today. Because we'd be like, why are you gonna talk on your cell phone in a booth? Is it because it has a good signal? Like,
Yeah.
I like
Although I
those
think,
bottle movies though. I mean, Hitchcock did a bottle movie, Rope, And he also did
Yes.
another bottle movie, What's Wrong with Freddy or something like that. There's some movie where the guy was
Oh,
dead.
the Trouble with Harry, I
The
think.
Trouble with Harry. I think that
Yeah,
was like
I
a
think.
bottle movie too.
Yeah, could be.
And Rope was a bottle movie. He did a few
Yeah,
bottle movies.
yeah. Um, well, interesting. You mentioned the cell phone because Larry Cohen. That was one of the. I think he did kind of a trilogy toward the end there,
Was
and
he
he did
part of
one called.
Buried? Because Buried was a good bottle movie too.
I'm not sure, but he did one called Cellular.
Oh, it was all phone related.
Yeah.
The phone
So
trilogy.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Rotary. Cellular.
Rotary.
Phone booth.
Yes.
Rotary. That's the Back to the Future version.
Yes.
Protection. Protection. Protection from who? Yeah, Smokey.
Oh. This is like the part of the sitcom where everyone gets serious.
Smokey down to his house.
Yeah, I was going to say this is an interesting moment.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like
In this neighborhood, we had known
like Family Matters or Family Ties or
no ideas around.
Family
yeah,
something,
Oh, no,
where suddenly like,
that's not the way.
oh,
You kids are
where they all get
yeah,
serious from the jokes.
sissified.
yeah. I was going to say John Witherspoon. He's really playing for laughs most of the time, and he's over the top. Scenes where he's eating grapes and stuff like that. And he's and of course the famous DJ Pooh material. But now he's more real in this moment. He's more serious.
Yeah.
You think you're a man with that gun in your hand, don't
You
you?
think he's gonna fart and ruin the scene?
I'm a man with that.
Well, I think if it was a Lloyd Kaufman film, he might.
Put up your dukes. Now you're a man.
I mean, shouldn't you teach him how to fight and just not tell him put up your fist? Because he can still get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some fighting lessons or something.
Yeah.
Just putting up your fist doesn't make you a fighter.
No.
Oh, now I can fight. Something, man.
Yeah.
This is kind of like
Maybe.
Rocky. It's like some strategy would help. Don't just
Yeah.
fight.
That's DJ Pooh right there.
Yeah, that's why he's wearing brown. Oh, this is where that damn meme came from.
Yeah. Another classic song by War.
Sup, Craig? Sup, Red? Hey, Smokey, sell me a dub.
I ain't selling you nada.
Come on.
More casual racism here.
Guns be back.
Hell no. Now raise the fuck up before Craig father come out here.
You need to go on and do that.
Hell no, I ain't selling him shit.
I remember there was a movie I saw. I don't really have cable, but the house has cable.
Yeah.
And I have a TV like right here to my left that's never on stream, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I think through Amazon Prime or something, I have channels. But anyway, at some point I was flipping through the channels and I landed on the Angelina Jolie Lara Croft movie, and an Asian character came on screen, and the music literally went da 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 dun, dun, and I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
They're still doing this? Now, obviously, that's not a very new movie, but it's
No.
not old enough that they should have still been doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny here. It's like you go into the bodega and the Asian guy pops out, you hear the Asian music.
Yes.
The Latinos come out, you hear the Latin music, and the car, you see the car bopping.
Yeah.
It's like, man, like, was 95 really that long ago? But it actually was a long time ago,
It was. Yeah.
But you
Shockingly.
definitely, we talk about things you can't get away with now. That's something
Yeah.
you can't get away, and you shouldn't get away with now, because it's not
Yeah.
even funny. It's just like, it's really offensive.
No. Yeah, and it's sort of a cliche at the same time. Like you said,
Yeah.
it doesn't really work in terms of making people laugh or anything like that.
I mean, I think I forgot what comedian said it. It might have been Louis C.K.
Uh,
Someone. I don't want to attribute it to him and give him either the credit or the blame for it. But some
yeah,
comedians say you can be as offensive as you want, but you better be funny.
yeah,
You better be funny, you know.
yeah, yeah. That's related to the other comment. And again, I'm not sure who said it, but part of your job as a comedian is to figure out where the line is and then cross it. And if you get a laugh, you're okay. If you don't get a laugh, you're in trouble.
Essentially the same thing. Yeah, different way of saying the
Essentially,
same
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember Jerry Seinfeld. He was on a panel with other comedians. I think it was Louis C.K. I think it was um Chris Rock and like one or two other guys. And they were all sitting around talking. And someone made an offensive joke. It was a racist joke. It might have been Louis C.K.
Yeah.
And then Chris Tucker laughed, but not Chris Tucker, Chris Rock laughed. Chris Tucker
Oh,
wasn't there.
yes.
Chris Rock laughed, but Jerry Seinfeld was like, why do we have to go there? You know?
Yeah.
And I think they were like saying, but it's funny or whatever. It's like, yeah, but can't we like be funny without being offensive, essentially? It's like, all right, you maybe it was funny, but like, why is the goal to be funny and offensive? Why shouldn't just the goal be funny, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I kind of like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, you don't necessarily have to like, oh, how can I be offensive and funny? You could just try to be funny.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, that's a really good point. But this is also a guy who was bragging about dating a 17-year-old when he was in his mid 30s.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm old enough to remember that. So I'm like, yeah, you can
Yeah.
have your morals in certain spots, but then you got to look in the mirror too. Because I
Yeah.
remember like when Seinfeld was at his peak and he was like 35, 36, he was dating Shoshana Lonstein, who was in high school, and she
Oh,
was like
yeah.
16, 17. And I think like 17 is legal in New York. So I
Yeah.
don't think he broke the law, but I don't know. When you
Yeah.
start calling out people for morals, you gotta look in the mirror too.
Yeah. Definitely.
What's up with Rita? Rita who? Rita that's gonna be here at 7:30.
So I say that to say I can't really call out their stuff when
That's my
Yeah.
friend.
I'm doing a podcast with a racist. So. No, but if you look at my movies, I shouldn't be
Yeah.
calling anyone out for anything.
Right.
Easy.
So I guess that was Regina King was
Yeah,
playing the
she's been in a
sister.
lot of these type of movies.
Yeah.
Always like the girlfriend or a bit part.
Yeah.
She's like the no nonsense girlfriend.
She was also on that TV series 227.
Yeah, I think she was a kid when she was doing that though.
Yes. Yes. There's a few people in this movie, including
She
Nia
was also
Long.
in a movie I want to do at some point. Jerry Maguire. She was great in that.
Oh, yes. Yes. Totally. Yeah. She was in Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice.
Boys in the Hood. We got to do that at some point.
Yeah. Um,
So many movies we got to get to, man. Jeez.
oh, yeah. There's still one more Friday movie, too.
Yeah.
So Nia
I
Long,
guess this
who
is
played.
supposed to be like an inside joke. He dropped an Ice
Oh,
Cube and he's Ice Cube.
oh, yeah. Okay. See, I found myself wondering what is the
And
big
also he
deal?
dropped it to like he's smiling because he gets over
Yes.
his dad.
Yeah. And then this is kind of the punchline here, I guess, where some kind of dirt or something was on the ice cube, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's pretty subtle. Like it's not really. I didn't find that laugh out loud.
No. And I hate looking at the camera type stuff. It
Yeah.
works very rarely. I think it worked a little bit in Ferris Bueller. It worked with a lot of the early Woody Allen stuff,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it's not my preference.
Yeah. You
It
got to be
works a little bit
careful.
with Deadpool, but like you said, you got to be careful. Yeah.
Yeah. This is Superfly again here, Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah.
One of my favorite soundtracks.
Do they
I-
play the whole soundtrack for Superfly in this movie?
Well, they play at least two songs.
Uh,
But see, that's an interesting thing too. The soundtrack of Superfly I think you commented when we talked about the movie that they keep playing the same song over and over and over. But if you buy the soundtrack, it's got a lot of music on it that you never hear in the movie. So it's a full album of great music, but for some reason, most of it isn't in the movie.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about two different sets of people, The
Yeah,
filmmakers wants what's best for the film, and the studio wants new music that they can pump out. They want to
yeah,
push their artists that they're trying to sell, and they want new music that people are going to buy. They
yeah,
don't want people to just listen to
totally.
music. Oh, I have this in my collection already.
Yeah. And I also wonder if it's a case where they maybe they weren't finished with the music yet, and they just needed to get the movie out, so they just released it with what they had. So I heard for Rocky 3, Eye of the Tiger, it wasn't the final mix of the song. It wasn't quite finished. So
Hmm.
I do wonder about that.
You're saying in Rocky 3?
Rocky 3, yeah. Eye of the
I don't
Tiger, apparently.
understand. It
It
was in the
wasn't,
movie though. I'm confused.
it's in the movie, but the mix wasn't the final mix that you will hear on the album because it wasn't quite done yet.
Oh, I didn't even
It's
know that.
slightly different. I mean, I don't notice the difference myself, but
Hmm.
apparently, and this is the punchline here to our
The hat thing was kind
catfishing.
of funny. The hat thing was kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I just feel kind of bad for her, like why doesn't he just be polite and say, "Oh, okay, well, we'll hang out and talk for a while," but he's just like basically telling her to get lost.
yeah, well, she misrepresented herself. If I hired someone based on what they said on their resume, and then they misrepresented that, should I keep them employed? Should I be nice about it to not hurt their feelings? And misrepresentation goes beyond that. There's been people who have been had their careers ruined um, because of sexual assault allegations based on misrepresentation. You know,
Yeah,
it's like if you present one thing and that's not a reality. First of all, that was a huge thing in the gay community for a while. Transgenders being assaulted because they didn't let it be known they were transgender.
right.
And then
Yeah,
that's a major thing. It's like, are they misrepresentation if that is it misrepresentation if they identify as a woman? You know,
yeah, yeah,
um, there's like I said, in a work environment, if you claim you have certain credentials and your hiring was based on those credentials, would you be wrongfully fired if you feel you were a good employee despite that?
yeah,
You didn't do anything wrong except relying on your resume.
yeah. Well, I suppose, yeah, in a work environment, that there's certainly a higher bar that you have to live up to.
Mhm.
But just in a social kind of situation, that's not quite as clear.
Well, what
If you,
about would you be okay if you took a person home and that person you thought was a woman was a man who identified as a woman after you
um,
spent the night being affectionate with that person and now you're expecting more or you were
yeah,
expecting more, they're expecting more.
yeah. Well, that's a complicated question. I think that there definitely is something a little bit off-putting about that if the
Mhm.
person has been completely dishonest about it.
There was
Um,
also to not even go that extreme because that can be a toxic
yeah,
direction we're going in. Let's get away from that toxicity. There was
yeah.
this guy who is being sued by women because he said he was rich, but he wasn't.
Oh yeah.
What he would do is like, oh, like you pay for all of this luxury items and all these luxury dates, and I will pay you back. And he
Ah,
projected this image that like it's not a big deal for him. So when these women would pay for all these luxury things, they aren't thinking, I can't afford this. They're thinking, let me spend as much as possible because every penny I spend, I'm getting back. So why
yeah,
not live it up? And then when they wouldn't
yeah,
get any of the money back, whose fault is that?
yeah,
They willingly spent their own money,
yeah.
but he misrepresented himself. So should he go to jail? Is he liable for paying for that stuff? They willingly paid for it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean that definitely feels more like a con job, where you're convincing people that they're going to get something,
But you
that they're
can't,
not.
as they say, you can't con an honest person, right?
True. Yeah, that's true. Most con jobs involve you having to give something, you know. I
It
remember,
involves you thinking you're taking advantage of someone
yeah,
in some way. You're trying to get over it some way. This is
yeah,
so gross.
it
This is
is.
so,
It's
it's a
kind of
little
continu
funny, but it's
it's
really gross.
it's sort of
Okay, it's pretty
like,
funny. It's pretty funny, but it's pretty
yeah,
gross.
it's also continuing on that theme again a little bit here, I think.
Yes. Thank God it was black and not brown.
Exactly. Yeah, they
He's gonna
probably
put the drink back in the. Oh, that's so gross.
yeah.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
yeah.
That's terrible, man. That's terrible.
Yeah.
I had an incident like that happen to me and my cousin once.
Oh, yes.
So one of the treats that we love from Guyana is cheese rolls.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just a cheese pastry. It's just pastry dough, and he's gonna drink it. Oh God. Oh
Ah, here we go. Oh, man.
It's cheese rolls, right?
Yes.
And so my cousin grabs the last cheese roll, and just as she's about to eat it, I notice it had the green stuff on it, the mold.
Oh, yeah.
But just as she had the bite in her mouth, I couldn't get the words out. It just happened
Yeah.
so quickly. And everyone said, this is good. And I'm like, oh shit. I couldn't say anything at that point,
Yeah. Yeah.
That scene kind of reminded me of that.
So did she get sick or anything?
I don't know.
No.
I was visiting her. She lives in North Carolina now.
Oh,
This is a
yeah.
long time ago when I was visiting her.
Okay.
I remember she's like, it's good. I'm like, oh.
Well, I mean, if it's cheese, they say that mold on cheese won't hurt you.
The
It just
cheese was, the
makes it.
mold was on the pastry though.
Oh, okay.
The
Well,
cheese is in the pastry rolled
that
up.
might be. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to say.
Yeah. It's hard to say. It was green. What's hard to say about it?
Hard to say if it would hurt her or not, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I was going to say before that Nia Long, who plays the love interest, she's perhaps best known for being on the sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
She was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't even remember that.
Yeah. And Anna Marie Horsford, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, who plays the mother, Ice Cube's mother.
She was on 227, wasn't she?
I'm
She was
not
on
sure, but
some
she
black
was
sitcom.
on Amen. She
Oh,
played
Amen. Yeah, with Sherman
Thelma Fry.
Hemsley.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's at least 3 of these cast members who are kind of known for being on older TV shows. So you recognize them right away,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember Amen. Sherman
Yes.
Hemsley's follow to the Jeffersons.
Yes. Of course, I loved the Jeffersons and watched it all the time. I didn't see Amen as often, but I did see it once in a while.
Yeah.
Did you watch Amen a lot?
Listen, when you have 3 channels,
Yeah.
you're gonna watch everything a lot.
Yes. So Anna Maria Horsford was also on the Wayans Brothers in the late 90s.
Yeah.
The
There were a couple
WB.
in that movie too. I mean that TV show.
Yeah.
The father and the mother. They weren't a couple on that, but they were both on it.
Uh-huh.
I think she was like a security guard on the show, and he was the Wayne's the father in this.
Yeah, he was the father for sure.
Yeah. And she was like some female security guard, I think.
Yes, tough security guard.
Yep.
Deirdre D. Baxter. Actually, Paula J. Parker, who was the crazy girlfriend in this movie, was also on 11 episodes.
Did you know this is the movie she's known for?
Yes, I did know that. Yeah, but she was on 11 episodes.
What's her name again?
Paula J. Parker.
Paula J. Parker.
Yeah. She was on season 2, 11 episodes of the Wayans Brothers.
Oh, the Wayans Brothers? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I already forgot. Is it Paula G or Paula J?
J. It's J-A-I.
Paula J. Okay.
J-A-I. Yeah.
Drinking that wine too, ain't you? Smoking them tweeds and everything. Wearing those clothes all half off your ass. What the hell's going on today? Huh? Weeds. Oh.
Punk ass daddy, man. You always talking shit.
Wait, well, hold up.
You tell him to comb his goddamn hair. Like a bunch of spiders just having a meeting on his head.
You immediately know just looking around the room, you see how dated the film is.
Yeah.
The old color TV that's like, you know, a gigantic
Yes.
box as opposed to a flat screen TV. You had the hardline phone and then the boom box as opposed to like, you know, what do people listen to songs on now? People don't use iPods anymore. They certainly don't use boom boxes. It's just your phone, right?
I guess so for
Aside
a lot
from
of
your
people.
phone, like what would people listen to music on? Computer, maybe?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people are into vinyl these days. They're actually paying way too much money for old vinyl, or well, new vinyl, in fact, records.
Well, I'm not talking about nostalgia. I'm talking about like what would a like 18 to 28-year-old or 30-year-old be listening to music on? I'm not talking about people like you.
Yeah, well, no, a lot of those younger people have really gotten into vinyl, and I know there was 1 year.
Stop trying to be a contrarian and just answer the question I'm asking. What is the common use of listening to music? It's not vinyl, so stop being difficult.
Well, I mean, I think still probably places, you know, the streaming services, Apple Music.
But it would.
Spotify,
what I'm saying is
that
not. That's not what I mean. I'm saying like what they play it on, because we just
Yeah.
saw a boombox in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's way passe.
Well, I think people use
And
their phones.
iPhones and iPods are. I mean, iPods are passe. So it's just the phones and computers, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you can buy things that you dock your phone into, and it sort of plays the music out of speakers. I mean, I don't do any of that stuff. I still listen to records and CDs, and I do.
Yeah, you're making that clear. You're pushing your whole vinyl agenda.
That's right. But no, vinyl actually outsold digital downloads recently, so it's really come back.
I think that must be a skewed stat. It must be because digital downloads cost pennies and vinyls cost like $50 or something.
Well, it could be. I don't know. I certainly don't buy the new vinyl. I have a lot of old vinyl from when I was young. I'll occasionally buy an old used record, but I can't get into paying $50 for one record. So it looks like Rita has returned to the area, even though Smokey told her never, ever, ever come back.
Uh-oh. So they're supposed to be sisters?
Yes, they're sisters.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk about suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. This is where we're building up to the climactic confrontation.
See, this is where this is how women get men in trouble.
Oh, yes.
Because she's not taking him on. She's acting that way because a man is going to be behind her to take the punches that she's not going to take. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, she's going to take at least one punch.
Yeah, she takes one, and that inspires Craig to get involved. Now, isn't this interesting? They seem to be dressed in a very similar way here.
Yeah.
Like, I wondered if there was going to be some consequences, like the drive-by shooting. They're going to mistake him for Craig or something, but it never happens. Like, nothing ever comes of that.
Yeah, because unlike you, they see a difference with them. I know.
Yeah.
They
they're
all look
identical.
alike to you.
They're just wearing it's the same shirt. You can't tell them apart.
It's
Uh,
CGI. Like how they
um,
keep the budget this low when they CGI'd Ice Cube in front of Ice Cube.
that's right. It's an amazing dual role.
Yeah. This is kind of like Eddie Murphy with the Nutty Professor.
Oh yes,
Yeah, he's just
indeed.
playing dual parts.
Yeah.
Did they really need a flashback? Were we really gonna forget that one
Yeah.
conversation that happened a few
Well,
minutes ago?
well, perhaps they saw Rocky 4 and they decided they needed a montage
Montage.
of things that had just happened so that we can really feel them.
It
But they're
wasn't in black
missing.
and white though.
No, it wasn't. And there was no cool music playing with it, so it really doesn't quite pull at the heartstrings the way it might.
Yeah.
But and
See,
here we
but how
go.
does he know how to fight?
Yeah,
This movie clearly established that he doesn't know how to fight.
yeah,
The only fight training he had was his dad holding up fists.
yes. Well,
So this bully has to be like a really bad bully.
well, he's using the Rocky strategy of letting this guy hit him repeatedly
Until he tires himself
him
out.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, he's gonna have some sore fists in the morning.
oh, he is. Yeah, undoubtedly.
So,
So
how is
apparently-
using a weapon? It's not a gun, but it's still a weapon. You're still not
Yeah.
fighting fair.
No, that's true. But again, Debo is in like a totally different weight class here.
I mean,
He's
if
like
if the only goal is to not kill him, shoot out his
Yeah.
kneecaps, then beat him up. You're still not killing him, and you're still using a
enough.
weapon.
True enough.
No, come on, baby, come on. Let him be a man.
Let him be a man.
Yeah. Which means take a beating.
Shoot him. I said, he's not fighting fair.
How's he not fighting fair? He's using
Yeah.
his fists. Your son, after being told by his dad to only use his fists, picked up a 2x4.
Come on, Craig.
Yeah, true enough.
Told y'all. Told y'all. You want some? Beat him down, beat you down. Who else wants some? Who else wants some of Debo? Who else?
Tommy Lister,
Come on, Craig. Come on, Craig.
he was born
Tommy,
with a
tiny
detached.
Lister, right?
Yeah,
A
He was
detached
born with
retina,
a-
you're gonna say?
yeah. So that's
He
why
has
he
a
looks
funny eye.
Yeah, it's not
Again,
makeup.
how is this fighting fair?
Yeah, yeah.
Bricks and trash cans. This is like
Well,
WWE.
It is, and he's evening
That's
the
a
odds.
concussion right there with that brick.
This guy outweighs him by 100 pounds.
Whoop his ass. That's what I'm talking about. That's my dog. Take that.
You can't brag. You hit a guy with a brick.
Yeah.
You're just hitting a dead body at that point. He's gonna collapse at some
Yeah.
point.
That's my dog. That's my dog. And anybody gotta say anything, you let
I guess the great scene is coming up soon.
my dog.
Yes.
The most infamous scene in this movie. So many people have reenacted this final scene.
Oh
And a
yeah.
lot of them are usually really obnoxious about it too. It's like some guy who generally like did nothing wrong gets
Yeah.
beat up and someone just grabs their cell phone and reenacts
Uh-huh.
the scene.
I see.
So many times I'm like, I wish they would just knock that guy out.
Fuck out, man. Give me my goddamn money. The payback's a motherfucker, ain't it? Nigga. Johnny, come on.
Yeah. A lot of people went viral.
Oh
Just
yeah.
waiting for fights to end just to say that line.
Yeah. And of course they use it in the third movie as well.
Yeah. For nostalgia purposes, I guess.
Yeah. So one thing that I
Lucky,
never
lucky thing for
understood.
them, he has all of their belongings on him at the time he got knocked out.
Yeah. One thing I never understood is that they only need a couple $100, and Craig apparently picked up his paycheck the day before when he got fired. So what happened to all that money? Did he blow it all before Friday? They don't ever tell us.
Stop putting thought into this. I know it's not that bad, but I'm about to blow your back out. How that sound? Nia Long. She was a hottie back then.
Oh
I think she
yeah.
was in a string of like several movies as being the girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always get her confused with the girl that was in Love and Basketball. They look a little similar. And that's a black guy saying
Oh.
that, so it's okay if you get them confused. Who is the girl in Love
Yeah.
and Basketball? I know it's not Nia Long, but it's another girl
Love,
around her age.
love and
That's probably
basketball.
yeah. It was her and Nia Long were like the two love interests in a lot of these black movies around that time.
Love and basketball. Uh, Santa Lathan.
Santa Lathan. That name doesn't sound familiar at all. She was the main girl in Love and Basketball.
Well, she's the first credited here, but that doesn't necessarily mean
Does she look a little
um,
bit like Nia Long in the face?
possibly.
Let
She's
me look it up.
attractive.
I know you're gonna pretend they don't look alike because you don't want to be called a racist.
They're completely different. I can't. Kyla Pratt plays young Monica. Debbie Morgan.
Let's see.
Regina Hall.
Love and Basketball. Santa Lathan, yeah, that's her.
Okay.
Yeah. She was in a lot of these movies, I think. Let me see if
Uh-huh.
there are time. Maybe she was in these movies after Nia Long, but she was in the house, Moesha, so Family Matters. So she did the TV show circuit.
Uh-huh.
Um, I guess she was in Blade. She was in Blade, in Life, The Wood, The Best Man. The Best Man was a big black movie. Love and Basketball is a big black movie.
Yes. Yes.
I
Alien
think she
versus
just may be a
Predator.
little bit younger than Nia Long. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alien vs. Predator was another big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. She may be younger than Nia Long. But she played a similar type role though
Yeah.
in these type of movies. So she was born in where's her date of birth here on IMDb? Why are they burying her date of birth?
Um,
She was born in
she was born
1971. That makes
71.
her 43? No,
50, 53.
53. Yeah,
Yeah.
53. Yeah.
Nia Long was born in 1970.
Oh, so Nia Long
Year
is only a
before.
year older. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was in movies like Big Mama's House, Badass, which I think is a great movie.
We're
That's the
talking about
one.
Nia?
Yeah, she was.
Mm.
That's the one about Melvin Van Peebles making his movie.
Mm.
She's in a lot of movies.
Yeah. She had a
Much
decent
more.
career for a while doing these type of things. She
Yeah.
didn't really get to a point where she could like open a movie by herself.
No.
But she had a decent career going for a while.
Yeah. I guess
What
we
is a
haven't
black
talked.
actress that can open a movie by herself?
Well, back in the day, Halle Berry, maybe.
Well, yeah, if you're going back in the day, obviously
Yeah.
you start with
Pam Grier.
Pam Grier.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta start with Pam Grier, man.
Absolutely. Yes.
Then you're right, Holly Berry. I mean, she did what? Monsters Ball,
Yes.
Catwoman, which was obviously was a flop, but she was the main
Yeah.
star in a comic book movie.
Yeah.
She was a Bond girl.
Yeah. And they were talking
She
about
was in
spinning
X-Men
her off.
movies. Yeah.
They were going to spin her off in her own series, but that never happened. We didn't really talk about trivia at all. Are you interested in trivia or are we too late for that?
We got a couple minutes. Go for it.
All right. So, how many days do you think it took to film this movie, Friday?
I'm going to say less than a month.
That is correct.
I'm going to say between 21 and 25 days.
Oh, close, very close. It was actually 20 days. 20 days even. Yeah, so close.
I mean, they're all, and most of it's just sitting in front of that house, you know? So.
Yeah. And it was filmed in the same neighborhood where the director kind of spent his childhood. And one of the scenes actually takes place uh, in front of his childhood home. Do you have any idea which one that would be?
I had no idea.
No.
F. Gary
It's just,
Gary.
it's the scene where Debo punches Red, DJ Pooh, and sends him flying through the air. That was apparently Gary Gray's childhood home.
Mm. How can I miss out F. Gary
Yeah, exactly. Now
Gary's childhood home?
this is interesting. The clothes that Ice Cube wears at the beginning and end of this movie
Uh-huh.
are actually the same clothes he wears in another movie. Do you know which movie that is?
Is it a trick question? It's like next Friday or something?
No, it's an
Then
earlier movie.
I would say probably then Boys in the Hood.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So it must be like a reference. He wears them at the beginning and end of the movie.
Whoopi Goldberg, did she open up? She opened up a few movies by herself after Ghost, right? I'm looking
Who
up
was that?
Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, Whoopi
Did
Goldberg.
did
Yes.
she open up a few movies by herself after the success of Ghost?
I think
some
she did.
comedies.
Yeah, I
Then
think so.
some movie where she was like a dinosaur was her partner.
Yeah, yeah, yes, I think so.
Yeah. You'll have with the trivia. I'm just looking through black actresses that may have opened
Yeah.
movies.
So this movie was the debut of Michael Clarke Duncan.
No way.
Michael
I
Clarke
didn't even notice
Duncan.
him.
Yeah, well, do you have any guesses as to where he appears in this movie?
I didn't even notice him. I have no idea. I didn't know he was in it.
He's one of the craps players in that flashback where Red gets punched by Debo.
Listen, you have a black and white guy in black and white. Come on.
Yeah.
It's difficult. In the background. I'm not gonna recognize. No. I didn't know he was in the movies. I wasn't gonna guess what scene he was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking through these black actresses. I see a lot of recognizable faces. I don't really see a lot of them that would open up movies. I think Viola Davis opened up a movie this year once. The Woman King or something.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Why not just call her the Queen? That's no stupid title. Yeah, not a lot. Not a lot. It might just be Halle Berry might be honestly, Halle Berry might be the biggest box office draw for a black actress. Honestly. The X-Men movies, the Bond movie, and then whatever other movies she was in combined, she might be the biggest black actress box office draw. Oh, the credits are done. So we're just talking over nothing at this point.
Yeah, we're just talking now. Yeah. So
we're podcasting at this point. So I guess we should wrap up right here. Hope you guys enjoyed Friday. First time watching it. For me, I held off on watching it until the podcast, so I'd have a fresh view of it. I thought it was pretty good. I actually didn't think it was that much better than the third one. I don't know.
Yeah.
It has more memeable moments, but as a movie, I don't know. They were kind of similar to me.
Yeah, well, what surprised me was that in a way, I think I preferred the third movie just because it has a little more story that you can cling to. There's a little more things going on. But, this movie, I do love the fact that it is a slice of life and there's a lot of good moments in it. It just didn't have as much story. So in some ways, I think I almost prefer the third one.
They're kind of even to me. I think that the third one had more laugh out loud moments. There were more comedians in there, but it was like a cartoon.
Yes.
This is more, like you said, slice of life. It's a little bit more grounded. So I like it from that standpoint, but pretty even in my eyes. Not a huge difference, I guess, for either of us, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And perhaps if I'd seen this one first, I would give it the slight edge as well. It's hard to know.
Yeah. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. For Angus Combe, this is Sean Weathers. Class dismissed. That was supposed to be your line, but I think
you're right.
You sounded so unsure of yourself when you did the line.
Yes.
In the Rocky podcast, you're like, "This is Angus Combe for Sean Weathers," and I guess, class dismissed. Like, dude, just say it with conviction.
No, I think what happened there is that I kind of said, "Thanks for watching," and then I went into that line and I realized I was supposed to say "thanks for watching" there, so I kind of threw myself slightly.
You threw an "and" in there, and it's like, why is he throwing an "and"? And
I think that's because I realized I was going to repeat the same thing, so I was trying to find a different way to say it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Class dismissed and class is over.
That's right.
And you guys can go home now. And
Yeah.
what are you still doing here?
Yes, we wanted to speak to some of you after class, so stick around.
Yes. Detention. Here we
This is
go.
detention. Yeah.
Class dismissed. However, we do have detention for some of you. Yeah, we could do that. We
Yeah.
could say class dismissed, right? So when we
Yeah.
do the next podcast, right? When we're done with the main movie we're talking about, we can say class dismissed because we're done with the main subject of the podcast. However,
Yes.
we do have detention. In detention, we'll
Yes.
be showing you a few movies, and then we could talk about the movies maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just spitballing. I'm
No,
spitballing.
no, that's yeah, that's a good idea.
Just keep that
We could
whole
try that.
theme going. Yeah.
Yeah.